Welcome back to the Conversion Stack. Make sure you like and subscribe on all your favorite platforms. I have a super exciting guest and episode today. We have Anthony Zhang, a proven sales leader with over 20 years of SaaS experience. And we are talking the biggest mistakes made in early stage companies to break sales and marketing alignment. Really great episode. We're chatting AI, we're chatting commitment between sales and marketing, we're chatting pipeline, and some really fun new acronyms for you guys. So let's dive in. I want to let you introduce yourself, Anthony, but before that, I feel like the whole reason I started this podcast is for these discussions.
Yeah.
I think there's so much marketing content around low friction topics like Google ads and remarketing and all that type of BS. Where I think like the real difficult problems in my world in B2B SaaS is marketing and sales alignment. Mm-hmm. It's like so crucial inside companies, and it's so broken just from like years and years of separation of these departments. So I'm super excited to dig in. I got some awesome questions for you. But before we jump in, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Anthony Zhang, 20-year sales leader, been the first SDR at Pardot, the first AE at SalesLoft, drove 3 companies to financial exit. And so working on my 4th right now over at a company called Lasso, which is a live event workforce management software.
Beautiful. That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's been such an amazing experience to work in companies like Pardot and SalesLoft. I mean, the caliber of people in those companies must be pretty top tier.
Definitely learned a lot. Yeah.
Nice. So, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Cool. Biggest mistakes made in early stage companies to break sales and marketing alignment. Let's start by like, what do we mean when we talk sales and marketing alignment? Or what do you mean from the sales side when you say sales and marketing alignment?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of centered my career around startups. So I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. Mm-hmm. And, I think that from my experience, sales and marketing has probably been the biggest crux on whether the company makes it or not. Right. And so, I've seen situations where the two teams will measure different KPIs and success metrics. And what you end up having is, one team celebrating, winning, succeeding, and another kind of falling to the wayside, right? And sometimes that's sales, sometimes that's marketing, right? Just depends on who, the founder or the CEO or the leader picks as like that North Star, right? And what you rarely see is kind of this mutual North Star, this mutual success metric, which is why your system starts to break.
I like that you brought in the kind of the leader or the founder. It always seems from my experience that when there's misalignment, quote unquote blame always kind of goes to the opposite of where that leader or founder leans. So if they're very sales driven, it's the leads are crap.
Yeah. Right.
If they're very like marketing driven, hey, we're feeding you guys leads. Why are you not?
Yeah. Do more with them.
Yeah. And when that happens, and like you said, the metrics are misaligned, we get in this situation where individual teams might be like, one team might be winning, and the other team is losing, and it just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It's like these functions exist to work together, and not just sales, marketing, product, leadership, all the functions of business, to achieve some target or like miss some target. And when they're misaligned, I think it creates a lot of challenges inside companies.
Well, you're creating friction, right? You're creating friction between two leaders that are good at what they do. But when you set goals that don't align between these two leaders, you're basically putting these two leaders against each other, right? So for example, the most common case is a founder or a CEO will say like, hey, marketing, we need more leads, right? And then, the founder or CEO will say, hey, sales, we need you to close more revenue. And sometimes these two things are mutually exclusive, right? So marketing is going to go out and find the most leads they can,
Yep.
right? Because whether they get comp, bonus, whatever, just, bragging rights, whatever it is, they're going to go out, they're going to find the cheapest leads, right? Maybe a list or something like that. In one circumstance, we went and found, thousands and thousands of leads on Facebook.
Yep.
Right. But they had a 1% conversion rate, and so my sales team was pissed at me because I was like, hey, you guys got to work these leads. Because here's the thing. On the sales side, you never want to demonstrate that you're not willing to do the work, to put in the work to help with the conversion rates.
Mm-hmm.
But your sales team's pissed at you now.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like these leads are garbage. They're not converting. It's a waste of our time. And the worst thing you can do is, if you're taking time away from your sales team, you're taking money away from your sales team. Right? And I don't think certain people understand that. So, we were tasked with having to go out and really figure out what we could do with these leads, which was absolutely nothing. But marketing was celebrating.
Yeah.
Right? But marketing
all leads are created equal.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as a founder, as a leader, as someone who runs, and oversees the entire revenue department, you got to look at, things from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Right? The leads could be cheap and you could get lots of them, but if it's not converting to revenue, then what are we doing?
Yeah. And I think I love that example because, again, from the marketing side, I've witnessed that exact thing firsthand, right? In today's world, leads are easy, right? Like the world's changed. Access to everyone's information is one software away. Right. And if I am solely being rated on leads, I either go get them on Apollo or whatever tool I'm using, or I just throw up Facebook lead ads, which convert super cheap, get you a bunch of $5 leads that are never going to pick up the phone or respond to the email. Mm-hmm. And kind of the narrative that we're trying to push at OM. And the good thing is that I believe it works. The challenge is it takes deep marketing and sales alignment to achieve this. So it's pretty rare, is really aligning with the entire revenue function around pipeline. Yeah. And letting the feedback loop stem from quality and not quantity. Right. Because I actually want to optimize my marketing based on the people that are having relevant, smart conversations with you, and make that be my messaging, or overcome their objections for why they're not buying or why they are buying, and use that to like drive my marketing. Right. And instead, if I'm optimizing based on these volume leads, I don't pick up the phone, I'm gonna actually get you more of those. So it's like it's a compounding problem to go in that direction. Yeah. And it's so spot on. And it's wild to me that 2023 going on 2024, I would say, man, I wish I had this data in front of me, but I would bet that the majority of companies still think in that manner. Yeah. In the segmented manner. Hey, you guys get us leads, you close deals. Absolutely. And I'm going to point fingers or whichever one is not flexing properly. Absolutely. I mean, you work with a ton of clients and a ton of startups, right, that need your services. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a ton of mistakes being made. What are some of the things that you've seen from an alignment standpoint that founders are doing well? Or what have you kind of had to help them navigate? That they're doing well? Yeah. What are some of the things that they are doing well? When they do create that alignment, what is that alignment? What is that North Star? Yeah. I think alignment, and even as an agency, we use this concept of partners a lot. I often say that vendors don't move the needle like partners do. And I think it's the same whether you're in-house or out-house. The things that I see, when I see things go right, the teams are working extremely close on strategic problem solving, right? So it's a culture where you're putting really good people to solve the really hard problem of growth. And sometimes that does mean we're going to sit in and listen to your calls and actually see what's going on.
Right.
Or, hey, actually, our marketing team that's been flexing for these 100 Facebook leads that we got for $5, I'll tell one of my team members, hey, why don't we try contacting some of these leads and see what it's about?
Yeah.
Right. And the sales team obviously knows that we're doing that, but like, hey, let's bring everyone together and like really understand the root of the problem and realize that we're all here for the same objective.
Right.
And yeah, you might get a short-term victory, right? But if you get a short-term victory and the company's not making progress, everyone loses.
Right. Right.
And I guess to bring it back to the negative, especially recently in the changing environment as private equity kind of tightened up, we've seen a lot of companies where I'm working with their marketing team and it just seems that we're winning. And all of a sudden leadership comes down with like huge layoffs. And we're like, what the heck is going on in this place? And you realize that there was just complete misalignment inside the org and some little divided metrics that we were living in were like looking sexy. Yeah. But the reality is the company was not operating at where it needed to be operating. So I guess long way of saying, when things are going well, the leaders of the companies are working really, really close on strategic problem solving and not what I guess I consider meaningless KPIs.
Right. No, I love that the one thing you said where you on the marketing team and your marketing team actually dig in to those leads. You guys make the calls. You guys actually look at the data, right? Which I think is another big challenge is that, in my experience, there are marketing leaders that just come with a playbook. And I know you talk about marketing playbooks a lot, right? I think that's one of your topics.
Yeah.
And then there are other marketing leaders that come and just want to test and test and test. Hey, let's test this channel. Hey, let's test this, right? And I think there's efficacy in testing, but it has to be sort of an educated test, right? Versus, hey, let's just throw money at it and see what sticks. And I think that creates a lot of fear and a lot of challenges and a lot of doubt, right? Is if you're testing things and you don't really know what's going to yield, if you don't have a hypothesis even of what it could potentially yield, you're not going to be able to sell the sales team on that test. Because again, it affects their commission, affects their wallet, affects their, financial status, right? And so I would caution any marketing leader to say like, hey, if you're going to test something, come with a hypothesis. And if that hypothesis falls through, if it fails, then let's cut that test quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think part of the interesting challenge when you start to mention hypotheses, I think the platforms, and I'll put my tinfoil hat on here, like the Metas of the world and the Googles of the world have made us so platform obsessed and platform data obsessed that these hypotheses are rarely pipeline centric. So it's always, I'm going to make this A/B test on the landing page to get you another conversion or to optimize this on Google Ads, right? And again, it's cool. I believe in that type of optimization. Don't get me wrong, but the feedback loop needs to come from pipeline and the hypotheses need to come from pipeline. Hey, I've heard 10 of the last 20 calls and this is a really common objective. How do we make market messaging and campaign messaging that aligns with that objective? So ideally, the next 20 calls, that objection goes from 50% to 20% because we're effectively educating our pipeline, right? And then obviously, ideally, we can measure that and like work against that. But if we're continuing to be platform obsessed and optimizing around leads, you're just going to get more crap leads and your feedback loop is going to be broken.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been, I don't know, over 10 years since, Pardot first came out. And, I don't know where, this terminology of MQL really originated from, right? It originated from somewhere. And it's funny that even today, certain companies don't have a defined definition of MQLs, like a clear definition of MQLs. And so that's, number one. And I was thinking about this, on the drive over here. And one thing that I have not personally seen is the definition of an MQO, which is a marketing qualified opportunity, right? And so we're always focused on leads. But going back to your point, how is that converting into an opportunity? And I think there's a big gap right now with companies not taking the time to define what a marketing qualified opportunity is and really kind of putting that on paper and framing it on the wall somewhere and saying, look, if it doesn't meet these objective thresholds, right, whether it's the firmographics or the intent, right, because you're looking at two different things. You're looking at who they are, what they do, where they work, right?
Yep.
And then you're looking at, well, how much intent do they have? Right? Are they looking at your podcast, or are they looking at your ebooks? They're downloading your ebooks. Are they doing things to show intent? And I don't think we've gotten to that point in this entire space of sales and marketing alignment to create this MQO. Something that worked really well for me at Fat Merchant when I worked with my counterpart, the VP of marketing, is that we were both aligned on SQLs. That was both of our North Stars, right? Because once marketing hands it off to sales, sales qualifies it, it is a good lead, it goes into our pipeline, great, marketing is hands off, right? Yep. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Of course, we always love air support, marketing content, right? Anything to help us handle objections, right? Get in front of objections, nurture, all that kind of stuff. But essentially, once you've given us that opportunity, you're golden. Right now, it's up to sales to drive that across the finish line with the support of marketing. Right. So that's where we were able to find the best alignment, is when that opportunity traveled all the way through the marketing funnel to that sales qualified lead or sales qualified opportunity definition.
Yep.
That's when the handoff happened. And that's where we saw success, because he held me accountable to checking the leads, making sure they were followed up with properly, because now we had the same intent of, let's make sure this lands in the pipeline. If it lands in the pipeline, you're golden.
Yeah. Man, you hit on two things I love. One is this idea of like, get the MQO, put it up on the wall, and like get people rallying around like a really clear objective, right? And then the next one is like how deep, or like trying to help companies figure out where that handoff needs to happen. And I completely agree with you. There needs to be a point where now it becomes sales, right? But I think that point needs to be deeper in the pipeline. And then we should both marketing and sales should be like really looking at KPIs at that layer, like what's happening there, right? Like why are not enough of them becoming MQOs and not finger pointing? Let's just figure it out and go solve it, right?
Right.
Or like why are the ones that are becoming MQOs, why are they or not becoming whatever the next stage is? So I love that. Now I'm gonna throw you a little tough question, I think.
Please.
So I've experienced a lot where we've worked with companies, and let's say we really define our MQOs or our SQLs or our opportunities, however their pipeline structure is set up. But now we get into a problem, and I think it actually goes back to this misalignment topic, where the metrics are still misaligned deeper in the pipeline, and sales starts to become really strict around what they identify as an SQL. Is my question clear? Because they don't want, let's say before we shifted over or focused on MQOs, let's say there was a 30% conversion in MQOs.
Right.
But now that we've shifted, they're worried that their KPI is going to drop. So they start to like qualify those a lot more strict. Yeah. And the metric changes. Have you seen that happen before?
Absolutely. And I think that's where you lack that definition, right? Because if you're constantly changing the definition, then your KPIs are going to change, right? You can make your KPIs look however you want it to look. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You can disqualify everything and only qualify the things where your contract is already sent and the verbal is given. Yeah. You're going to get a 90% conversion rate right there, right? So you can flub the conversion rates. You can flub the data however you want to, but it all boils down to you and I sitting down and saying, okay, what is an SQL? What is an MQO? What is an MQL? Right? And are we both satisfied with that definition? Once we are, you go to your marketing team, I go to my sales team and say, this is the definition. and these are the expectations, right? Like, we have sat down, we've looked at the data, we've looked at their customers, we've looked at, the ICPs, right?
Yep.
And we have defined this to be an MQL. When this comes in, here is our SLA, right? And so now it's creating that SLA between each other of, you have my commitment and my team's commitment to work these leads as best as we can, put them into a sequence or a cadence, 14, 15 touches, right? The whole shebang.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can come to that agreement, then and you can trust and have the confidence that my team is going to be working those leads.
Yeah.
Right. And then if it doesn't become an opportunity, well, where did we miss? Right. In our definition that we've agreed to together, where did it not hit that threshold?
Yeah.
Right.
Spot on. I love that you said both. We're both satisfied and we have that commitment. Because again, I think a lot of what I'm extracting is we need to work in partnership to align and then like drive our teams.
Mm-hmm.
And where too often when we're not in partnership, it's competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do I get ahead on my metrics? Right. How do you get ahead on your metrics? Right. And again, everything kind of does not work as effective when it's set up in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the leader drives the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the leader's like, these leads suck, don't work them, well, then your sales team is going to start to have that mindset, right? That, oh, these leads suck, I'm not going to worry about that. I'll give it the bare minimum.
It's crazy how real that is and how toxic that type of energy can be to like either a sales team or a marketing team. I've seen the marketing team just rally around the sales team can't close shit. Mm-hmm. And I've seen exactly what you just mentioned. The whole sales team just disgruntled about the fact that we're just getting shit leads.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. All right. Let's look at a kind of a counter argument or a different perspective here. Sure. So it's 2024 almost. Mm-hmm. For hundreds of years, maybe 100. I actually don't know. But for many years, companies have thrived with segmented sales and marketing. Yeah. Right. Boiler room sales back in the day, marketing at that point was probably just printing out flyers and writing an email. Like why, if it's worked for so long, why does it need to change?
What's funny is the whole smile and dial call down this list. I have never been a fan of that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like here's a list of 100 leads. Just give them a call. You have these auto dialer softwares that just ring, ring, ring. And what you do is you start turning your sales reps into basically automated dialing machines, right? That AI can do today, And, I'm a big proponent of humanization and personalization, right? Like our SDR team today, we provide as much context as possible. And when you have like these boiler rooms, these, situations where you're just having your team call down a list because marketing sent it to you without any research, any data, any kind of insight that you can provide, you lose the chance to really build that connection, show whoever is on the other end of the line that you actually know who they are and you actually know what their problems are. And so I think the times are shifting because we just have so much data in front of us now. We have the opportunity to learn more, right? Whether you use ChatGPT to learn about this persona and what their challenges are and, what are the common situations they find themselves in and what are their goals and objectives. You can easily identify that to have a more meaningful conversation versus following this robotic script of, the dialer picks up, you finally found somebody, and then you just flubber through this talk track, right? So that I think that's where we're at today, which is more humanization, right, and understanding and education. I think that's where we are able to drive the highest conversion.
Yeah, and I'd also look at it from one. I think you're spot on, absolutely spot on. And your buyer has changed. Right, the buyer, at least especially in our world, is a very educated, smart professional, right? And a very educated and smart professional in today's world has a lot of information, is able to make decisions, and no one, you're not going to trick someone to buy $100,000 piece of B2B software from like a random outreach if that person just has
you gotta get super lucky. You gotta get super lucky.
You have to get super lucky.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why it kind of worked in the past is there wasn't this level of information available, and you did have to just kind of like hit the numbers game to find someone that is in the buyer's journey. But now we're actually influencing the buyer's journey, and that's where like marketing and sales and our LinkedIn's and all these things that we do every day to like educate people on why they need an event management software or whatever. And like that might be as early as like highlighting some of the challenges that they might be having before they're even in market. So I think it's just this alignment is so important because today's consumer has a very different buyer's journey than they've had in the past.
Right.
And we need to be human, and we need to be relevant, and we need to be valuable, and we need to educate. And that's going to take really good marketing and really good sales.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is, back in 2009, 2010, nobody really knew what an SDR was. I didn't know what an SDR was, right? And I was hired on to be this cold caller, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do, right? And now, like, fast forward, the SDR realm, right? The role is so saturated. Now, not only do you have more SDRs, but you also have more technology to enable them, whether you're using SalesLoft or Outreach or Marketo or Pardot or whatever it is. There's so much more automation, which means there's more noise, right? Because now your inboxes, your LinkedIn, like everything is so saturated. God forbid they have your number and they're blowing you up with these canned messages, right? Like, hey, do you want to listen to me for 30 seconds? Do you want to roll the dice? Like, no, absolutely. I don't want, like, if you called me and asked me if I wanted to roll the dice, I would absolutely say no, because I'm not a gambler. I don't gamble, right? I know a sure thing. And so there's just so much saturation, so much noise, so many bad practices now that you have to be able to do better than just this standard boiler room cold calling approach, right? Because people are tired of it. People don't want that. People want to feel like you are specifically talking to them. You have done your research, and what you have to say matters, even if you can educate them in the 30 seconds, 5 minutes that you have on the phone with them. If you can educate them, that's worth more than dialing 100 different people with the same message.
Spot on. And I think it's funny you mentioned like the penetration of these softwares. Technology is moving so fast. Any advanced sales team now has these tools, so it enhances the argument of how relevant and personalized the individual needs, like the sales team and the marketing team needs to be. Because maybe 5 years ago someone like me would get 5 cold outreaches a day. Now I get 20, and then 20 on LinkedIn, and then some DM on some other platform. It's just out of control, and anything less than world class is just not going to be effective.
Right. It's automated. It's templated.
Yeah. Cool. I have one topic I really want to dig into, and that is because I think this is driving a lot of this need for tighter sales and marketing alignment. ABM, account-based marketing, right? To me, this is really ABM is generally broken from what I've seen, but to me, it's a non-negotiable alignment. We are targeting very specific individuals, and we need to be personalized and guide them through that buyer's journey. Do you agree or have any thoughts that account-based marketing and the popularity of that, which I think is good, emphasizes the need for like tighter sales and marketing alignment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think ABX is the right way to go. Absolutely. Right. So you think about, if you're functioning out of just contacts, right? Leads, people, prospects, whatever it is, right? You got one sales rep reaching out to this person, another sales rep reaching out to this person. Well, guess what? Within the organization, people talk, right? Like if I'm evaluating software, I'm going to pass it to my president. I'm going to pass it to my sales ops manager, right? Hey, take a look at this. Let me know what you think. Now imagine that I'm already passing this or forwarding this information along. And then you send another, some other sales rep sends another piece of content to my president. And, some other sales rep sends another. It's too much. Own the account, right? Own the account so that you're not stepping on each other's toes. Because at the end of the day, who gets the meeting? First of all, who gets the meeting? Right? If SDR A is sending it to the president and SDR B sent it to me, but I forwarded it to the president, who gets credit? Right? So it creates this chaotic moment of too much, again, going back to too much noise.
It might even create a negative tension where it's like, oh, now we're just getting spammed by these guys instead of solution selling me.
Versus being strategic, right? With the account and understanding the organization, right? And so going back to ABS, ABM, ABX, right? It's aligning everybody so that, hey, these are the accounts that I'm going after. Let's saturate the president or retarget the president with some, executive level data, right? ROI, right? On our product, our solution. Let's share some, team managing content, right? How do you effectively manage your team to the VP of sales, right? Let's share like usability, ease of use, functionality with the sales ops manager, right? And that's how you create this ecosystem of getting everybody on board. Because at the end of the day, when decision making comes around, it's not just one stakeholder, right? And I don't know if, back in 2009, 2010, there was just one like decision maker. Now everybody's a stakeholder, right? Now the healthy companies will pull everybody in to make sure that your various leaders are also bought in. So you have to have that orchestration.
Yeah, man. This is a tough point for me. I cannot agree more in the importance of the orchestration, but it goes back to this marketing and sales alignment. It is so hard to get a team to really commit to the orchestration. I can't communicate enough how often companies want to do ABM and there might be a target accounts list, but really what they want is for us to send ads to that specific account while living in our own box. It's not about, okay, hey, there's this account, there's this layers of people in that account. How do we create content and collateral and ads to like target the CTO and the marketing team?
Right.
It's just, hey, go send ads to these people and then our sales team's going to go after them. It's like, no, we're not doing ABM and we're not being aligned here. Let's actually go talk about, okay, how do we get Steve and John at X company to really engage with our content, get those signals and like go penetrate that account over time.
Right.
So the world of sales and marketing alignment is directly tied to ABM. We need to stop calling everything ABM if we're not really doing ABM.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? When they just want to throw ads at accounts versus really understanding their ICP and really kind of creating some segmentation around the different types of content. Why do you think that is? Is it that they don't understand the concept? Is it that they're just, quite frankly, lazy or they don't care? Like, what do you think the reason is?
I think it's hard, and things get so trendy, right? That you get a lot. The world is really good at strategy and really bad at execution, from what I've experienced. So all of a sudden, you go to LinkedIn, everyone's talking about ABM. Yeah. Right. We did an ABM strategy. We 10x our company, right? Some typical clickbait stuff. And now you're being told to do ABM. And that's what it is. That's, hey, go do ABM. That's like being told, go do SEOs.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you just tell me that? I'm going to go do some SEOs. Absolutely. And I'll be back.
Get
on it. But if we're going to commit to an ABM strategy, we have to do a lot of work. We have to meet. We have to understand our audience. We have to find the individuals. We have to create these personas and these like understanding of the people, and then create a bunch of collateral. It might take months to execute like a world-class ABM strategy. No one wants to hear that. They want to hear that you're doing ABM because then they're reporting up to their CEO. They just heard the word ABM and said it to the marketer. And there's just misalignment org-wide very often. And I think that's why that happens.
They want shortcuts.
Yeah. I had a question for you. What is ABX?
ABX, so account-based whatever.
Oh,
Account-based
got
whatever,
it.
right? So now it's just account-based whatever, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
you know, AB customer success, right? So for example, you know, even customer success teams now, our customer success team and the customer success teams that I've been a part of or worked with alongside, will dedicate one person to an account, right? Because the most frustrating thing, I don't know if you call AT&T, like, you know, you call Comcast, like your internet provider, right? You tell this person one thing, this is your problem. Okay, let me transfer you to this person who handles this problem. Okay, now I got to repeat this problem again to this person, right? There's zero understanding of your business, your organization, right? So even as a customer, I want that ABX treatment so that I have one person who understands me, my challenges, my company, my goals, everything, versus, you know, 5 different people just here as a help desk kind of support system, right? So I think it stems all the way through from, you know, your marketing to your SDR teams, to your AEs, to your CSMs, to your implementation managers, whoever it is. You are dedicated to that account and you have an innate understanding, an intimate understanding of that account. And that's how you create retention. That's how you create expansion, right? That's how you create upsells. It's through that one individual that understands the account.
I love that. Man. Yeah. You're about to start seeing all over. You're about to start seeing all over LinkedIn. I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah, you're right.
Cool. Before we wrap up and say our kind of parting thoughts here, I have one segment that I really enjoy.
Okay.
And it's called Predicting the Future.
Okay.
It's fun because things are changing. AI is all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say how much I use ChatGPT. You know, it's just and I almost like don't use Google anymore, which is great. But so the segment is called Predicting the Future, right? We're talking about sales and marketing alignment.
Yeah.
I can kick us off if you don't have any initial thoughts, but do you have any just kind of thoughts or visions around how maybe some of the changing technology, whether it's AI or Metaverse or whatever, might impact sales and marketing alignment?
Yeah, so let's go back to Pardot when marketing automation first came out, right? There's the right way to use technology, a strategic way to use technology, and a lazy way to use technology, right?
Yeah.
And so when marketing automation first came out, you saw 2 types of, whether you call it campaigns or different types of marketing leaders. One would really run a serious level of segmentation, understand who they are, and then segment your content to those different types of individuals. The other would just email blast.
Yep.
Right, and what we call boil the ocean. Go fast forward to, you know, sales enablement, right? Sales loft, outreach, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You had reps that were really strategic about their accounts, and then you had other reps that would just email blast, right? Whether it's LinkedIn automation, email automation, whatever it is, they would just automate, right? Now you fast forward to AI. I'll tell you the AI that doesn't excite me. Write this email for me.
Yeah.
Hey, here's my persona, here's my ICP, write this email for me. Why? Because everybody can do it, right? But I think with AI, you have the opportunity, to educate, so learn, right? I think AI can speed up your ramp time to understand the industry, especially if you're transitioning from one industry to another, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to ramp up faster. I think that's one way you can understand your ICPs better. The other is through enablement, as in enabling your operations. So think of yourself as having your own personal sales operations manager right behind you, right? Hey, when this deal, closes, automatically, send an email to the customer, automatically send an email to, your customer success team, right? Automatically, update whatever it is. I think there is promise in that, as opposed to, hey, write this email for these 100 people, understand their personas, and just go, right? There's a level of laziness to that.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I think the saying is AI won't replace the sales rep or the marketer. An AI-enabled sales rep will replace the sales rep.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I can spot an AI email from a mile away.
1,000%.
But a really good salesperson that's taking the effort but leveraging AI to like segment or customize or make it super relevant is definitely going to have a leg up.
Right.
And in theory, we could do that at a huge scale as things continue to progress in AI. Maybe instead of like blasting my whole list, now I'm segmenting by these 5 groups. For all I know, maybe we'll be able to segment down to the individual in like a really customized way. And I think that's super sexy.
Yeah. Well, there's something that AI can never do, and it's creating these human connections.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what sales is. That's what marketing is, right? It's creating emotion. It's creating human connections, right? It's creating a level of understanding that AI will never do. Yeah. So let humans do what humans do best, or what they're capable of doing. Let machines do what they do best, which is automation of tasks, redundant tasks.
Yep.
Right.
I love it. Huh. Mine was not nearly as deep or as good as yours, but I will say someone that really values the feedback loop. I call myself a sales-centered marketer. I do sales, and I love sales. I think marketing just needs to be deeply, deeply ingrained in sales because I care about revenue. I just really care about revenue. Right. But obviously, these note-taking platforms are pretty interesting. You've seen them. You jump on like a Zoom, and it's Firefly, and there's a few others. And then some of them will email you the notes, and then some of them will summarize the notes in a really effective way, which I really like. So I had this thought when I was thinking about this yesterday around if that can mature, maybe even turn it into video. I love the idea of like enhancing the feedback loop, right? I say, we'll listen to your sales calls, and that happens, but maybe I'll do 5 out of 1,000. Realistically, most companies do, right? But how do I get better, easier to consume access to all 1,000 of them or 500 of them? I think the sales feedback loop should be one of the most important things marketing is doing. Yeah. It's like really listening to what the customers are saying, why they buy, why they don't buy. Yeah. How do you tackle objections in like a human to human call? And I think if we can like enhance that, marketing will get much, much better. Yeah. Because marketing is also shit. The same way there's a ton of salespeople just sending a giant generic email. 80% of marketers are doing the same thing. Yeah. Giant generic ads, hitting the dollar button on Google Ads and and hope the leads come in. Right. So I think that's an interesting thought.
Well, it's so much content to consume, right? Like as a marketer, you're not in the trenches, right? As you shouldn't be, but you're not in the trenches. And so, sales, we hear and have these conversations hundreds of times a day, right? Hundreds of times a week. And what we do is we're consuming all this information in our brain, in our mind. We're consolidating all that information into top bullet points, right? Here are the common challenges that I'm hearing, right? Whether it's a product feature request, whether it's, an objection, right? Whatever it is. And for marketing, it's very difficult to distill all those conversations without listening to hundreds and hundreds of hours of audio.
Yeah, we just hit some giant bullet points instead of like the real meat.
Absolutely, right? And so I think, going back to your point, I think a really interesting technology is, hey, listen to these 500 calls and give me 5 biggest objections. Yeah. I think that would be amazing.
It's totally.
You want to start it together?
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Well, if you didn't know it before, now you know. Anthony Zhang, absolute rock star. Make sure you find him on LinkedIn. Yep. And keep the conversation going. And same with me. So thanks for tuning in. And make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast platform, The Conversion Stack.